Welcome to Jex in Space. We are looking today at the Inside Star Citizen that just came out. It's called Alpha 4.3 Patch Report. So it should be all about Alpha 4.3. The news I've seen in the patch updates is that they are going to try to go live today. So assuming everything goes well. I never saw if the last patch went live, which they were calling the first release candidate. I was waiting for it last night, and I never saw it drop. And to be honest, I didn't check today. So hopefully they did some release candidate and did some testing on it before it goes live. But I don't know. But let's jump in and see what Jared and anyone else on here has to say about it. So I'm going to just quickly jump this back to the beginning. And let's go.
You're here. I'm here. We got one take. Let's talk about the elevator in the room. Now, up until this point, freight elevators were mostly used in single-player, short-term environments like personal hangars. There would usually only be one user, and on the back end, it would be stowed when you left, and a fresh new freight elevator presented every single time you went back in. Now, while certainly not perfect, these tended to operate better than the ones out in the wilderness at, say, outposts, which, like many other things in the verse, tended to compound their issues over time the longer they were left to run.
Okay, this is all true so far. And it's fine. But I feel like he's covering his bases. Like, he's not trying to minimize the fact that there are problems with freight elevators no matter where they are. They're definitely worse, or have been worse, at the outposts. Now, the problem with this is that we've known about this for a long time. And in one of their, I think it was one of the monthly reports, they were like, hey, we found out there's a problem with the freight elevators. And a lot of us are like, no, we didn't just find that out. That's been the case since freight elevators have existed. So I'm hoping that's not going to be glossed over here, but let's see.
Now, of all the known issues with all the freight elevators in the game, most tend to revolve around simple things like it just doesn't work, and bigger problems like all my items have vanished and they're now lost forever, which itself can often tie into other issues with things like long-term persistence, which we're gonna have an SCL on with Benoit soon to discuss some new developments there. So if it's okay with you, we're gonna stick to freight elevators for the time being. Now, at this point, I didn't
quite understand his point there. He was like, there's lots of issues, but most of them are related to small things or big things or other things. Like, isn't that all of them? like what else is left? So yeah, I'm sure most of the problems relate to either small things, big things, or even other bigger things.
Not really telling you anything that most active players don't already know. But it's important to note that these issues have been egregious enough that we'd already started a directed repair initiative months ago. It's just not completed yet.
So do a Star Citizen Live on that and bring the people in working on it and give us an update. Like, that's all that we want to hear. Like, we want to hear from... There's so little content this year in terms of the video content that we're doing with, less Star Citizen Live, less ISC, because there's less features to show off is the excuses given. But why not do more of the technical Star Citizen Live stuff and bring on the people that are working on it and tell us what they're doing? Because instead we just get these blurbs in the monthly report that's like, hey, we just found out there's a freight elevator problem. Whereas I'm sure if someone was here, like, that's not what they would say. They would, he's saying here they've been working on it for a long time. So have some of these people on to give updates on the things that are, that we are frustrated with, that they are frustrated with and working on, just so we can have that transparency and that discussion and, sort of keep us all on the same page, right?
Obviously.
Maybe.
Super obviously. As with transit, when working these issues, we try really hard to avoid what are known as hack fixes and focus instead on trying to uncover what is ultimately the root cause that will create all this instability underneath. And that process can often seem like absolutely nothing is happening for days or even weeks at a time.
Or months, or years sometimes.
What happened with Race for Stanton? Well, sometimes changing how we use old features can be just as painful as adding a bunch of new ones. With a higher concurrency in daily active users than any patch this year, large numbers of...
I hate whenever this comes up as an excuse. Like, and they've been a lot better about it recently. But for the longest time, every time a patch went out and it would have all kind of problems, we would hear this line of like, well, there was so many more people, on than we expected, and we had to go and get more servers and get more servers online. And I feel like at this stage, like, they have had enough time to learn to figure out how to anticipate what the player size is going to be, especially in new patches, and then figure out whatever you need to do. If you need to go 10x or 100x, whatever it is for that initial patch, you can always taper it back down. So, if you spin up too many servers, like, I understand there's going to be a cost to this, but we're giving you a ton of money. So make the experience good, like way overcompensate on the servers you need for a patch and then dial them down instead of underestimating and then like trying to dial them up.
The players were driven from their private freight elevators and their personal hangars to the more troublesome ones out in the PU. Statistically rare states became common, and less common issues became fertilized and grew into bigger, unavoidable ones. Although in many cases, this still took hundreds or even thousands of players using each freight elevator to manifest a single.
And whatever happened to, like, they used to talk about this thing they had where they could simulate a large number of players playing the game on their side. And so I don't have clarity on what happened to that. Like, so he's saying that there was just way more than they anticipated, and it caused all these issues that they couldn't see in their own internal testing, which honestly, it feels like there's 5 people that get in and do like a few checks and then that's it. They don't actually play the game. So what happened to this system where you could go in and simulate a giant number of people playing the game? Because then you could way, overcompensate and stress test and find out what's working. And I've not heard that whole system mentioned in like a couple of years probably. So yeah, I don't know whatever happened to that. It would be great to have an update on that. Like, is that something that is still being used? And what if it's not helpful in these cases, if it's not actually providing the same amount of stress that actual players do, why and why not? And then if not, like, is that tool that helpful? Maybe that's why it's not being used, or I have no idea. I haven't heard like anyone come in and give an update on it. So I'd love to know more about that, like, simulation of player concurrency, and where that's at, and if it's being used and if it's being updated. So yeah, that'd be great.
Issue. Now, like with transit before it, or the infamous 30K issues of old, who remembers those? The issues you encounter in the PU are not always due to 1 or 2 bugs, but often dozens and dozens of underlying conditions beneath and around it, which throwing thousands and thousands of players at have helped us address more successfully than ever before. And since the release of Alpha 4.2.1 and up until the recording of this video, we've identified the root causes of 44 individual freight elevator issues, with 20 of them being classified as blockers or critical, and almost all of them with causes only revealed by running thousands of people into them over and over and over again throughout this event.
But are there ways to do that without going live? And maybe there's not, but they did talk about doing like all this tech preview and stuff. And I know, like all year, like engineering tech preview, it's like right around the corner, and they're saying it is again now. I think it was supposed to start Monday, and then it changed to Wednesday, and now today they said maybe not today. And so, I don't know. I'm assuming we will see the first tech preview of what's supposed to be many tech previews this year here in mid-August soon, but it just seems like they're not really making efforts to test things like this before it goes live, and then maybe there's just not the numbers there in PTU to get the demand that they need, and so maybe live is the only way they can do it. But it feel like if they made more effort or just communicated that ahead of time, that would be good. If they said like, hey guys, this patch might be rough and these elevators might not work, but we need you to test it, then at least we'd have that set up. But then it's also really weird to have an event centered around the elevators, which may or may not work, that have very unique rewards that are in demand that people want. So you're driving, I mean, it's a catch-22, because the rewards help drive people to test the thing that is broken and causing frustration. So, and that's just part of that. We're all playing in an alpha, that we have to sign up for some level of that. And the only thing that I can think of that would help ease it at all is better communication from CIG on those issues.
Now, in a phrase that should be very familiar to our software engineer enthusiasts out there, as we work to fix each issue we encountered, the resolution would often reveal another lying in wait underneath.
Yeah, that's fine.
But this is a good thing, yeah?
Yeah, it's
we
fine.
did all this intentionally to force progress so we can finally fix freight elevators like we did 30K and are still doing with transit? No. Now, while the project will definitely benefit from what happened long-term with all the fixes and hardening that's been going
let's see where he's going here.
Continue to go in throughout Alpha 4.3 and beyond, the answer to what really happened isn't particularly exciting or salacious or any different than what I imagine most of you already suspected. We knew there'd be issues like there have been, but we underestimated how they'd compound on top of one another at higher stresses.
Ooh, that was very good. That might be the quote of this entire episode. We'll see what else he has to say, but man, I can't tell you online how many posts I've seen in the last month or so where people are like, these problems are expected and intentional, and SIG is doing this on purpose, like having this event that uses the freight elevators with these rewards to drive the testing, to test the system that they know is broken so they can get the most data out of it and then fix the problems. And he has literally just said like that was not their master plan. Like they underestimated how many problems there would be and how it would affect the experience and the outcome. So while it's a little bit like nothing's ever like 0 and nothing's ever 100, like, things are on a spectrum, right? So that truth is somewhere in the middle. Like he said, they did anticipate there would be some problems, and having people come in and do this would be a good thing, but that wasn't really their master plan and their goal. They just underestimated stuff, and it was worse than they thought. And so this is the kind of like transparency that I think is actually helpful. Like there's too many white knights that will just go in and just be like, SIG is perfect, everything they do is great, you have no room to critique anything, everything they're doing is intentional and masterful, and it's all a bigger master strategy plan, and it's not the case, because CIG is just made up of people who are like us, and everybody's got flaws and mistakes, and nothing that we as a human species attempt to do is ever executed perfectly. So I think there's like no, big issue in just accepting that these are a group of imperfect people trying to do the best they can to make something, just like we all are. And sometimes they get things really, really right. Sometimes they get things really, really wrong. Sometimes in the middle, right? And again, what I go back to is just communication is what helps soften this stuff a little bit. So this is very good to hear. And I think from the community itself, like we all need to be able to listen to input from other people without like putting ourselves in these polarized camps. Like I'm a scammer, I'm a scam citizen, like I think it's all a scam, or I'm a white knight, I think everything is perfect and flawless. Like, we should be living more in the center and realizing like everybody has a little bit of truth and a little bit of mistruth in their thoughts and opinions. But we shouldn't be ascribing like evil intentions to people that just have a different opinion to us, and realize that there's more in the middle that we can connect upon. Like, everyone who's following the project is in some way a fan of the project, even if they're a little jaded now. So yeah, like, have that honesty, have that communication. We need to listen to each other. We need the developers to talk to us. They need to listen to us. And there needs to be room to have criticism for things that CIG does without that, meaning that, oh, you think this is all a scam, right? You can be a critic of parts of the project and still be a fan of Star Citizen. All right. So this is good to hear. I think we need more of this kind of honesty and openness. So for me, so far, this is the highlight of what Jared has said, but let's see where he takes it from here.
It's been a sometimes frustrating process for everyone on both sides of the project.
Yeah, for 13 years. That's a good way to sum it up.
But at the same time, we're super proud of the content and cadence we've achieved this year, and of the strides all of our teams are making to make this the most compelling year of Star Citizen gameplay yet. For every single step backwards, I truly believe we're taking multiple strides forward, and the overall improvements to the experience along the way are what keep many of us motivated to continue going month after month. And with this new Onyx Facilities content drop being spread out over multiple releases, we're going to continue taking the time.
I don't know that I'm up to date on that. Like, I know the cooperative zone stuff is coming later. And when he says multiple releases, is it just like 2 releases, or is this going to be dripped out? I mean, there's not a lot of patches left in the year unless they're going to do like sub patches with more content in between. But I'd love to know more about what the plan is for Onyx and the patches after 4.3. Maybe that's something they'll dive into. Yeah, I would like to know what's coming other than all I've been anticipating is a cooperative zone patch at some point.
Time to improve existing experiences along the way. And to that end, as some of you probably have already heard, it was in the loading screen and whatnot, we're also going to go ahead and extend the Race for Stanton missions while we continue to work on freight elevators throughout Alpha 4.3. It'll mean another month for folks to try to dethrone Hurston from the lead they hit so very early, for you to earn any of the individual rewards that are still outstanding, and for us to continue beating on freight elevators about the head and neck with the proverbial pipe along the way.
Yeah, if they're exhausted at trying to fix freight elevators, like I'm exhausted at moving boxes. So I've done 2 of the corporations all the way to 5. I'm at the very, very beginning on the other 2, and I don't know how far I'm going to go with them because I'm going to be jumping into the Onyx facilities like once they drop.
And all while you continue your exploration of ASD's latest malpractices.
Yes.
And speaking of which, we've also made the decision to keep relatively quiet on Onyx facilities in ISC and beyond. We do this to better let you investigate and discover things for yourself. But that doesn't mean there is...
I haven't done as well of a job keeping quiet. I have been streaming the Onyx and facilities in PTU. If you get to a point where 4.3 drops and you're going through the facilities and you've kind of seen things and you just want to know how to maximize your loot runs, I do have a couple guides on my YouTube channel, one for the research side, one for the engineering side, just kind of showing a quick way to run through and loot the Geist armor boxes, because I'm trying to pull the ASD brand, which I assume a lot of other people are. So to do that, it's a low drop rate. You just got to like go through these facilities a ton of times. So when you get to that phase where you're ready to just like try to get the loot drops that you want, do check out those guides.
Isn't more that August has to offer. So let's go ahead and use our remaining time this week to explore the other aspects of this new release in Patch Report Alpha 4.3.
Oh, so now we're actually going to start the 4.3. So yeah, I mean, just to sit down on freight elevators, that's fine. Like, I wish he had an actual developer in to talk about it instead of just himself, but that was good.
For years now, we've had these ground storms with rain and snow and whatnot, and those are sticking around for a while yet. But in Alpha 4.2, we continued to get our feet wet with the first iteration of dynamic rain. And now, 2 months later, in this release, we're continuing our climate campaign with the nascent version of dynamic snow, which leverages the same system to sleet the skies wherever the surrounding situation is.
I mean, this is the rain and snow. It's fine and it's good. I enjoy the rain, more like the audio, but the visuals a bit too. But it does create like a vibe when you are doing like box missions and you're unloading a freight elevator at an outpost and it's raining and you hear it all around you. I haven't really experienced the snow too much yet, and I don't think it adds as much honestly as the rain does, because I don't think I think it's pretty much just like a particle effect that's on your screen, and like I don't think the snow's like accumulating on anything, but I don't know. I haven't really seen it in that much detail, and it doesn't mean that much to me. I'm glad it's there, but it's just one of those, like things that adds to the environment and the atmosphere, but isn't something that really affects your gameplay too much.
Sorry. It's a small thing to let us avoid rain falling on snowy areas, but these incipient iterations will continue to develop both in gameplay and in its sights and sounds over subsequent releases. And meanwhile, in things you can wear and hold, almost every patch this year has had a new armor.
So this is the Geist armor. This is the armor that is in the loot boxes that I was just talking about. So there's all kind of, well, I'm not gonna say all kind, but there's like maybe 4 main variants. I know there's a desert, a forest, this red, which is called Rogue, and a whiteout, and then just like the normal gray. And that's all I have found in the boxes so far, but there is an ASD variant that has like the hood and stuff. That's what I want to get. And it has like it looks like a Squid Game armor almost, with the triangle on the forehead. And then I know Wikello has some variants. I haven't done any Wikello stuff like ever, to be honest, but that's something I need to start getting into.
Armor and weapon to discover. And in August, you'll find the new Specialist Light Stealth Armor. There are a few different variations floating around, including a neat ASD one.
Yeah, that's the ASD one I was talking about.
There are a few different variations floating around, including...
So this is one I'm trying to farm. So you can see it's got the triangle on the head, the shoulder. Most noticeably, it has the fabric cloak. So that's only on this ASD variant, and I believe the Wikello variant, like the white one. So it's sort of like... Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow is what it reminds me of. But yeah, I think this one, I think in general these armors are just okay, but the integration of the fabric in this one looks really cool. So yeah, my understanding, it's like a 1 in 12 drop in the boxes to pull one of the ASD pieces. I've done a ton and haven't seen one yet, but I think other people have gotten it, so I'm gonna keep trying.
A neat ASD one, and this one from Wikello. It's an interesting visor, but it does beg the question, with the blast shield down...
Well done.
How can I even see? How am I supposed to fight? To which...
How did they do the lightsaber?
Shield down. How can I...
Yo, does this like does this mean we're gonna get laser swords?
With the
Look at that.
Blast shield down. How can I even see? How am I supposed to fight?
It looks like they took the katana, which we've seen in other stuff, and just added like a glow effect to the blade. It's pretty cool. I don't think we'll ever see this in game.
To which the answer is, I probably shouldn't quote Star Wars, because Disney has lawyers. We've also got a new Volt weapon this month called the Zenith Sniper Rifle that, and let me read this text I have on the screen here from Zach, combines the raw punch of a charged sniper shot with the rapid-fire precision of a marksman rifle, which doesn't sound OP as heck at all, Zach.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm not a big sniper person, but this gun is a lot of fun to use.
Now, there are some notes here about how loud it'll be and how important managing heat is, because if you don't, it becomes essentially inoperable, like me. And it's the latest in this year's line of Volt weapons, and like all the other...
I also, well, that's kind of weird looking. Let me
Like me.
do a better job
And
of
it's
that.
the latest in this year's line of Volt weapons.
I really like the, is it the Pulse? This laser pistol. It's a lot of fun too. So everyone's using laser weapons now. I think they're going to have to go back and balance with some of the older weapons and just make sure. I personally still use like P8R as sort of my main. So I'm not running usually with one of the laser like guns, the big ones, but I have been using the pistol and the sniper rifle a little bit, and they both feel really good.
And like all the others before it, you can be the judge if its advantages are worth the trade-offs. Also, hanger respawning returns. Now it's a small thing, but the ability to spawn directly into your personal hangar and get back into the fray should be a welcome one for anyone that's played the game for a while.
Yeah, this is really cool. I hope they keep it this time. It was in before. They had to take it out for reasons I never clearly understood. But it's back in. It's been working in PTU. The only disadvantage is the very first time you load into the game, like when the patch goes live today and you don't have any ammo. Typically, if you spawned in Stanton in a city, like you could get ammo after you left your hab on your way to the hangar. Or at least somewhere near your hab, there was a spot to stop and get ammo. Now you're in your hangar, so if you want to get ammo at your home city in Stanton, like now you have to leave your hangar and go find ammo. So I really hope at some point they find a way to make like the consumables persist. Like it doesn't seem like it would be that big a challenge. They have other things persisting. I don't know why we can't add the consumables to like that long-term ledger or whatever it's called, but that's my only, and it's very minor crit because it's only the first time that you're starting when you've lost all your consumables. But it did happen to me on PTO. I was like, oh, awesome! I spawned in my hangar. Crap! I got to go back to the hab area to get my ammo. So it's like defeated the purpose of it. But again, it's only like the first time.
Wow. Personal hangars are slowly becoming our first true homes in the verse, and this is yet another step in the right direction. Also another step in the right direction, spawning ground vehicles from the freight elevators.
Wait.
It's not coming in Alpha 4.3, but I've got a platform and I'm going to use it to say everybody wants it, Benoit.
Bro,
We're gonna find...
Why is he trolling us? You're not trolling Benoit, you're trolling us. Man, my hopes got up before I noticed the red text at the bottom. Why even mention it?
Time to prioritize it for the schedule. After more fixes in the next couple months first.
Why is he bringing it up? If he says it's in the next couple months, it's going to be in the next 6 months.
Let's move on to virtual currencies. Now this year we introduced Wicklow, the collector, and his emporium of esoteric effects. Not the actual name. And over the last couple months, we've seen vehicles new and old get added to his inventory as variants with unique paints and components. And that's great. Or at least it was once we killed the RNG thing. Yay!
Yes.
But what about
but
the
why did you
ship
have it
shops
in?
the verse? Where's my Golem, the Fortune, the Guardians? Well, in Alpha 4.3, inventories are getting updated with many of the most recent ships that have been released. What this means is, while you can still pledge for ships to support the continuing development of Star Citizen, and you can still work for those fancy component variants of many with Wicklow, you should also be able to pursue the base versions of newer vehicles for AUEC, and in a more reasonable timetable from now on. It's our way of saying, yeah, we'll be better at this going forward.
Yeah, but I feel like we've heard that in the past, like when there has been delays with ships getting to the stores. So, I don't know. Like, if you say like there's going to be a process of ships will go from, being pledge only to being in-game available in, 2 patches or whatever the standard is, then like just stick to it. And I feel like we've deviated from that since they first said it a few times, and they always say like, yeah, well, we've got this in now, we'll be better at it in the future, and this is just saying it again, so it doesn't mean anything. But yeah.
It's Tyler Wickens' fault.
It is good they finally got them in. And if it's Tyler's fault, have Tyler come on the show and talk about it. Like, there's so many things that you could be talking about this year. Just because there's not features, bring the developers in and talk about the development stuff.
And while we're talking about spaceships, starting back in May and continuing with each monthly patch after that, the Vehicle Experience team began the next wave of flight tuning adjustments for every ship in the verse, hitting most of the heavy and medium fighters and interceptor subclasses within. Now with Alpha 4.3, it's time for some light fighters to get their pass. This includes adjusting SCM and nav speeds to increase variation within the class, altering the linear and angular accelerations, adjusting health pools, and even swapping out some flight controller components. Now there's a
to be honest, none of this matters to me because it's just going to keep changing until we get a flight model that's final and until we get like armor and all the stuff that the system needs to be complete. So they're going to keep changing. I don't get like heavy into the ship combat side of the game right now for that reason. It just changes all the time, and I'm kind of waiting for things to get into a more final state. But for people who love it, I know that's, you know, they love keeping up and, you know, doing the min-maxing and all that. So I'm not the person that's going to have the most up-to-date information on that side of things, but, you know, we'll see where it goes. Like, I anticipate they're going to have to keep balancing this stuff for another year or two, at least.
Whole list with details in the patch notes, but if you haven't flown your light fighter in a while, maybe give it a go this patch. And while we're talking about light fighters, what would a patch in 2025 be without brand new vehicles? And for August, we've got the long-awaited debut of the L-21 Wolf. It's sleek.
I don't know if I would call it long-awaited when there's ships that people have been waiting for like 10 years. I mean, I think we just found out about this one in the last year, so I wouldn't say it's long-awaited. Oh, I do love the Pico droid up here on the top. That's pretty cool. I did do a reaction on a video on this ship when they announced it, so you can check that out on my YouTube. Suffice it to say, I'm not a fan of the fin, and I have some small issues with the details on the cowlings, but otherwise I think it's a good ship. I think they're gonna make a lot of money on it because it's like basically a Naboo starfighter, so I think anytime they introduce a Star Wars ship, it's gonna do well.
Slick. It's kind of like a cool spaceship Rorschach test. See, some people see a fancy hot rod, some people see a Supermarine Spitfire, and some people
that was pretty good. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's pretty cool. They did the scene of Anakin taking off.
Spitfire, and
kills the droids, the destroyer droids. That's pretty impressive they threw this together. Looks like they used some, I don't know if they're Wakelo assets, but they're definitely like Banu.
Starfighter.
It looked like they were from Wakelo. That was pretty cool.
It's not. Disney.
Wait, what did he say?
But it's not. And some people like me see a Naboo starfighter. But it's not.
That's what I see.
It's not. Disney. It's the newest light fighter from Kruger Intergalactic.
Pretty much is.
A brand previously known for the Merlin and Archimedes, two ships who share the same names as characters in an old animated film about King Arthur from...
What's the pterodactyl thing? The Marok falling off the ship. Is that a reference to something?
Names as characters in an old animated film about King Arthur from... Now you can learn more about it in our dedicated Behind the Ships episode, also available on YouTube, and the L-21 Wolf will be flyable as soon as Alpha 4.3 releases.
Today.
And lastly, let's go ahead and touch on this month's big...
Oh, so the ship is already out on the store. It's $100. I guess like 90 war bond. So yeah, it's there, and they did say 4.3 they're trying to release today.
Content drop, the new Onyx facilities. Now this is a big swing from our environment, level design, mission, sound, and every other team that's worked on them. And that's why I'm not gonna say a whole lot. Everyone here really wants you to just get in there and experience them for yourselves. And don't forget, this is our first multi-part release of the year. So we'll open up that third and final wing eventually, and...
I've heard other people mention third and final wing. To be honest, I haven't noticed it when I'm playing that there's a third wing. Like when you go in, there's like very clear like A, engineering, B, research. I must I'm like missing a giant C, like whatever wing this way. I'll pay attention next time I'm in one. I'm missing something, but that's cool. There's going to be a whole other wing. I don't know if that's the cooperative zone stuff or just maybe a little bit of both, and maybe that's why there might be more than one release. So if those aren't the same thing, maybe it's like cooperative zone stuff in one patch and then the third wing in another. I don't know.
You'll find out what Dr. Yor and ASD has really been up to. It's more than just worm torture. I can promise you that. Ultimately, than just worm. Find out what Dr. Yor and ASD has really been up to.
Yeah, this. I don't know that I've seen this guy, so I don't know if this is from something I just didn't notice or if it's from part that's not released yet.
It's more than just worm torture. I can promise you that. Ultimately, this month, like this year, we'll continue to see Star Citizen pushing its development into lots of new directions. And, quite frankly, some are going to work better than others. Some are going to take us a bit to figure out. And some are going to be some of the best and most interesting content we've ever released. Align and Mine, Stormbreaker, Onyx facilities. I just want to shout out all the work everyone on Dev is doing to keep this year interesting and to continue improving the existing gameplay systems along the way. And then, of course, the continued engagement with the project from you, who are coming back month after month in record numbers to see where we're going next.
Yeah.
And finally, if you are wondering why I'm at my desk, where I spend most of my day doing my other job behind the scenes that has little to do with ISC or SCL, there's this little thing called CitizenCon Direct coming up on October 11th. And the spaceship is currently locked down for the next 8 weeks filming for that. So be sure you check out the latest post on the Bar Citizen Global Watch Parties to find out where you can join our staff to watch it as it unfolds. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for listening to me yak about freight elevators for 5 minutes. And I was gonna do a joke here at the end where I pretend to push a button and the elevator takes me down beneath my desk. But considering the work that we still have ahead of us and fixing them proper, it would probably go a little something like this. I'll just say we know what's left to do and we're on it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Okay, I don't see any like little extra stuff at the end. So here's what I'll leave on.
And that's why this is our first
the Onyx facilities that are coming in 4.3, which is releasing today. If you haven't been in them, they are really cool. I think it's some of the best content we've seen in Star Citizen. Here's my take, like the juxtaposition. If this was content that was in any other game that is released and done, which Star Citizen is not, it would be like, this is bad. Like, why is it so many weird things that seem incomplete? Why is it, broken in places? Why does the narrative seem like it has some weird flows in it? Where you like do something in a facility and then you leave and then they're like, we need you to look further into that facility, but then you go to a different facility to do it. So there's just some like weirdness to it that if it was in another game that was complete and released, you'd be like, this doesn't feel good. But in Star Citizen, and it is alpha, and a lot of this stuff was supposed to be incorporating cooperative zones, which had to be pushed back. So, I think there's some reasons why things feel incomplete or why the narrative seems disjointed or why you go in and out of the facilities to do these missions and go to different ones to continue where you left off. So there's some things about it, all I'm saying, that aren't perfect, but that said, it is like the best we've seen in Star Citizen so far. So there's a weird, there's a different barrier because you have a game in alpha, and you can't directly compare it to the games that have fully released content. Like, we should expect things to be a little incomplete in an alpha. So I think overall this is a huge step in the right direction. I'm of the mindset that we don't get like that really polished, really good game design until we get more people off of Squadron 42 and working on teams that are working on Star Citizen fully. But this is a promising first step, and it makes you think like, what will they be able to do when they have full teams dedicated to like actually working on Star Citizen, and not focused on like trying to get Squadron 42 put together as best they can and get it out the door. So, and we don't have a lot of honest transparency on where people are at fully. Like we just get the monthly reports and we get the roadmap updates and things like that. But you know, my Monday couching quarterback is like saying most people are still focused on Squadron 42, and we don't have them all working on this stuff yet, which to me is, you know, what they've put together with the teams they have and that focus that they have is fun and it's good. So I will be running these a lot. They're kind of like contested zones, but there's less chance of running into players there. It's not guaranteed that you won't run into other players there, and I have run into other players there even on PTU, which is not that busy. So you should expect you might encounter people here. It might be the case that that doesn't always mean you're going to be killed or you have to kill them. Maybe you'll want to group up, but there's that chance there for PvP to occur, and I think that's fine. Like that's what we want in the game. We want some areas that have higher chances of PvP. We want some areas that have less chance of PvP, but we do anticipate that's going to be just part of the game throughout, right? There should be more secure areas, less secure areas, etc. But these seem like great content to, like, if you do want to do that grind and farm the unique armor, you can get in, and sometimes you're going to have a like solo experience and do it. You can do these solo. It feels like the first time when you get in them, like you won't be able to do these solo. But it's like the rest of the game. Once you learn it and you get it down and you figure out where the dangerous parts are and you anticipate that, then you can get through it. Like I said, I do have some guides that show you how to do quick loot runs. They're not showing you how to complete the different missions because they're pretty straightforward. Most of the missions are, you get a certain way in and you click a button, and sometimes you have to take something out and take it back to like one of the home stations like Tressler or Seraphim Station or one of those. But all of them are pretty much, you go in a little bit further, you click a button or you collect some data and you bring it back out. So the missions themselves are pretty easy. It's really just getting to know the facilities, know where different things are, and then know where the dangerous parts are. And then more importantly, like once you've kind of done the missions and you want to focus on just grinding these out, it's knowing where the loot boxes are that have the Geist armor, so you can try to pull and get those rare drops. So that's what my guides show. They'd show you just like how to quickly go and just go straight to the armor boxes and get that stuff. So that's where I'm going to leave this reaction to today's Inside Star Citizen. Overall, this was a good one. I feel like, just the breakdown on elevators was good. My only thought is it would have been more helpful to have a developer on and talk about it. And I wish we would have seen more of that this year. Like Jared, like if we can't do as many shows on features, can we just pull some developers in? I know we don't want to interrupt their time, but if we can pull different developers and, take half an hour of their time and just kind of get like a behind the scenes explanation of where we are, like what things are, being trouble, what's being done to address them. And also just update us on some of the things that we're supposed to know, like the 2023, CitizenCon promises of like, we'll have all these features in the next 12 months or so. I think there's something like 20 to 30% of those that are not delivered yet. So like, give us an update on that. Give us an update on like why Tech Preview and ePTU are not being utilized as much as we thought they would be. Like, just if you're gonna lay out things at some point and say like, these are the things we're gonna give you, and then a big chunk of those don't happen, like come and update us on that, and that way people aren't so angry about it. So yeah, that's my only request, is like do more of these, but bring some developers in and give their perspective as well. But this was overall very good. I mostly enjoyed that front half, I think, about the freight elevators, and especially Jarrett just like being honest. I mean, like, this just did not go to plan, and there was some things that were worse than we anticipated, and we're trying to fix it now. We're extending the event. That was all good to hear. We need more of that. The 4.3 stuff wasn't really anything new in there for me so much, but it was good. I'm looking forward to 4.3 going live. I've been playing it on PTU. Hopefully it fixes a lot of the problems with the resource drive event as well. And we'll see. I do have 2 corporations to try to get off the ground there, so we'll see. I have a feeling I'll mostly be doing this stuff, but we'll see. So yeah, let's leave it there. Do me a favor if you can. This is a new channel. I am trying to grow it. If you have feedback for me, drop it in comments. And if you want to see more content, hit the subscribe button, the follow buttons, like, share, all that stuff. It really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. I will see you on streaming on Twitch, or I will see you in the next YouTube video. And hope you have a good day, a good evening. I hope you enjoy 4.3 when it goes live. Let us know what you think in the comments of 4.3, and let us know what you think of this video with the Jared's update on the freight elevators and the look at 4.3. Which half of this video did you like more? The focus on the technical side with the elevators, or more of this glimpse of the upcoming patch? I'm curious. I like the front half of it better, but I'm curious if that's just a me thing, or if other people feel the same way, or do other people like more the content focus? So let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.